Welcome to today's episode of The Exceptional Caregiver's Life, a podcast about navigating disabilities. I'm Wendy Robertson.
And I'm Liz Phipps. The transition into adulthood can be both an exciting and uncertain time, especially for individuals with exceptional needs and the families that support them. In this episode, we explore what the shift really looks like beyond the milestones, from navigating services and independence to managing expectations, emotions, and identity. We are joined by a caregiver with lived experience and a clinician with professional insight, bringing together two perspectives that don't always sit in the same room. This conversation is honest, practical, and grounded in the realities families face as they move into this next chapter. A bit about our guest today. Jeanny Scantlebury is a clinician and system leader with over 30 years of experience supporting individuals with developmental disabilities and their families across the lifespan. She is currently a vice president at Surrey Place, where she oversees children, youth, and adult services, with a particular focus on supporting individuals and families during the transition to adulthood. In addition to her professional role, Jeanny works closely with caregivers and community partners across Ontario and is deeply committed to creating more responsive, inclusive systems that support belonging, purpose, and resilience for both individuals and the families who support them. Wendy Robertson is a dedicated mother of twin daughters, including Bridget, who's autistic as well as developmentally and intellectually disabled. With 16 years of experience navigating the autism journey, she has become deeply involved in the community, serving on multiple special need councils and actively participating in organizing fundraisers. Wendy has been a longtime member of the Family Advisory Council at Surrey Place. Professionally, she has built a career in finance, balancing work with her commitment to advocacy. In her personal life, she enjoys staying active and loves to laugh, always finding joy in both the challenges and blessings life with a special needs child brings. So I'm very excited to introduce not just my co-host, but our caregiver guest today. So Wendy, you do like to laugh and you do like to keep busy, but tell me, how does it feel to be on the other side today?
Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking. Not going to lie, but I'm excited.
Well, I always thought you would make a great guest, not just because I adore you, but because you truly are a parent doing it all. Wendy is such an example of, if you need something done, ask a busy person. Wendy is a busy person. I just admire so much about you, and I think the audience will learn a lot listening to your perspective.
Aw, thank you.
So before we get into our conversation today with Wendy and Jeanny, Wendy, I'd really like you to share a bit more about your family.
Okay, there's my husband and I. We have identical twin daughters. Bridgie is the center of the universe. What Bridgie says goes. Well, she's nonverbal, but what she wants is what we do. There is no such thing as a happy wife, happy life in our household. It is a happy Bridget, happy life. She's just the most affectionate, wonderful, funny kid. And she has a twin sister who is off at university living her best life. And, it obviously wasn't what we expected. And definitely the degree of her autism wasn't what we had expected. But we somehow are making it work. Lots of tears, lots of wine. And we just try to live our life as we can. It's definitely not a typical life, but it's now our life. And so it's now our normal.
Part of the reason I wanted to have you as a guest, not just because of your life experience, but your girls are 18, correct?
Correct.
And this conversation today is about the transition to adulthood. So I thought your perspective would be so relevant, so valid. And let's take a step back. So I think we can all agree the transition into adulthood for those with exceptionalities does not start at 18. Wendy, share for those listening when you started thinking about your daughter's transition into adulthood? It wasn't at 18, was it?
No, it was probably on diagnosis. I would lay awake at night wondering, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? What happens when we're not here? But right now, I have to look at the present. I always knew it was looming. It's like it's in the back of your mind. So at about 12, you start asking questions. And then at 14, you really start looking into what supports and fundings are going to be out there. And then at 16, for Ontario anyways, you have to register with the DSO. You have to wait till they're 18, but you need to get on that list at 16. So wherever you live, ask the schools or your therapy center or whoever is helping your child, and they'll let you know when the guidelines are and when you should start signing up. I did find the school system was really good at keeping me on track as to when that, the things would come home in her backpack, when things should be signed up for. So you really need to start looking at it seriously at 14.
And Jeanny, from a clinical perspective, what are your thoughts? What advice would you give families at what stage, what age that they need to start thinking about their child turning 18 and what that's going to mean for them?
I really like what Wendy shared, that it starts right at the beginning where the diagnosis first happens. And throughout that kind of childhood, there's so many skills and so many experiences and exposures that the individual is kind of part of and experience and is taught that is going to be all coming together as they head into the adulthood. It's really great to hear Wendy, how she's been preparing for us since like at different stages, she's done different things. So she feels age 14 is a good time to really seriously organize yourself for that 18 Developmental Services Ontario registration. So that age 16, as she said, you register, but the services don't kick in till 18. But getting on the list is so important, being able to do the registration at age 18.
Tell the listeners some of the skills that families early on need to be advocating for their child. When you say skill development at an early age, can you list some of those skills that you see are particularly important that will take them to transitioning to adulthood?
Some of the skills that comes to mind is individuals' ability to make a choice. And it kind of starts with whether you're going to put on a left shoe first before the right shoe. It comes like really starts at a young age, right? Being able to make a choice about something, because that's part of kind of independent skill set repertoire. Being able to also consent and dissent, like being able to state that you're consenting to something and that you don't want something. And I think one of the mistakes that's quite horrifying when you come across it is the kind of attempt to teach our individuals to be super compliant, agree to everything. And I think that is so harmful because they really need to learn to say no. And they really need to learn how to say yes to something that they agreed to.
It's hard when you have a nonverbal child, but Bridget definitely tells me when she doesn't want to do something. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think our communication isn't all about our ability to articulate and verbalize things.
Right.
So kind of even teaching in gestures and teaching in augmented communication. I think there's so many different ways people communicate within that capacity. Teaching those things are very important. And I think independence, the skills of independence, especially around activities of daily living, being able to self-care, like
Yes.
those kind of things, minimizes individuals being in more vulnerable place.
Yeah, I agree, Jeannie. And it's interesting just listening to what you're saying because so much applies to neurotypical children as well. Talking about consent and advocacy and self-help skills. These are all things that we would teach our neurotypical children, and it's not always that much different when it comes to children with extra challenges. So I appreciate you saying that. Let's move on to what I like to call the service cliff. So, what we mean by that is what changes after your child turns 18. And if you want my answer, everything. Everything changes. The one constant that I was very grateful for was in our school board, a child with an intellectual disability, which my son has along with autism, can stay in school until 21. I can't even tell you how grateful I was when I learned that. Those 3 extra years of programming, of respite, of support just meant so much. But Wendy, from your perspective, let's talk about a few things that you have seen change with your daughter turning 18.
So she's been 18 for what, 6 months? And it's like she stepped off a cliff. Honestly, I'm in the weeds right now. I am trying to find people to help us, and I cannot get over how difficult this is. And I'm a dog with a bone. Like, I will just keep going, and I can't find anybody. So if I can't find anybody, what is everybody else doing? So that, to me, is ridiculous. That needs to change. When they transition, there should be your pediatrician passes off to a physician. The childhood psychologist needs to pass off to, it shouldn't be the parent's responsibility to, okay, yes, I'm not saying they should take care of us. I'm just saying there should be some assistance. There should be that next step of healthcare readily accessible instead of Googling, calling, trying to find somebody to take your daughter. We had to change doctors, and the doctor, we had to first get her approval that she would take Bridget's care because she's, not well versed with autism. I'm like, where are the specialists for the older kids?
Not there.
So in our funding, for example, went from, this was mind boggling to me, $31,500. She got it for 2 years on the, what was it, OAP. The minute she turned 18, it was $5,500 for passport funding, which is for recreation and respite, which is great. But why did it go down so much, so fast, like within a day? Do they not expect them to get therapy anymore? My daughter was still in.
And for our listeners, $5,500 annually for a special needs child maybe could last you a month.
Yes.
And the more complex your child, the higher the needs they are. So if they're one-to-one in, let's say, a camp setting or a classroom or a support setting, those prices go up.
If you want to go to a day program, for example, it's $360 a day. And my daughter wasn't in ABA therapy for 15 hours a week. And we had to cancel it because there is no money for fit therapy anymore. And just because she's an adult, we don't expect any more growth out of her. I just think I just think it's unacceptable. She still has a lot to learn. I mean, she still can learn. She is not dead. Like, why it all stops? There's no March break camps. There's no Christmas camps. There's nothing for her to do. And the wait lists for the things that are available are like 3 years long. But you can't sign her up until she's 18. So it is I really didn't think it was going to be this bad, but it is this bad.
I agree. I live with this as well, and it's really unacceptable. Jeannie, do you want to weigh in on this? What I mean, you're listening to what Wendy's saying, and I'm sure this is not the first time you've heard it. What are your thoughts?
It is a very sad situation. It is a very challenging situation. And Wendy's current experience that she's having is not exception, it's the norm. So, which is really, really horrible. And as far as the kind of the OAP funding ending at age 18, when often our children can stay in school till 21, that makes sense. As far as the kind of difference between what's available in children and youth kind of sector compared to what's available in adults is so vastly different, and adult sector is so limited in its resources. And whatever resources adult sector has, it carries a huge wait list. So it is very, very challenging. As far as listing of resources that are available, it's pretty good and it's pretty comprehensive. As far as when you're going to be able to access them, when they talked about 3-year wait list, and sadly, that's not an exception either. That's the norm. So it is really, really challenging situation in adults.
And why, Jeannie? You're close to the governing bodies that make these decisions. Is it a government thing? Is it we need more advocacy? What on a macro level is happening that our system for adults is failing?
I mean, even in the children's services, if you don't have the diagnosis of autism or ASD, you don't have the same access to that budget. So I think even in the children's sector, you have caregivers who are really struggling to access. So I really think kudos to the advocacy. The ASD was able to come together, like those parents and family members were able to come together to have that group identified and have a funding attached to them. So I do think advocacy is a huge thing. And, in all honesty, one of the things that I was very hopeful for, and maybe there is still will be kind of time for that. I was really hoping as the children with ASD transition to adult sector, those parents and those kind of advocacy groups who made that possible while their children were young would also engage in something of a similar advocacy to change the adult sector.
Yeah, the irony in all of that is that you're asking a caregiver who already is depleted and worn out to keep that fight going, and they just want to go to bed. They want a good night's sleep,
Yeah.
right? But you're right, that's how change happens. Let's move this conversation along and talk a little bit about employment, purpose, and meaningful daytime activities. So we mentioned schooling for those can last until 21. Post 21, Wendy, what's going on? Where does your daughter go? Where do these children go that have complex needs, that have needs that not necessarily are employable? What does that look like?
So my recommendation to families that have a child on the same level as Bridget, like Bridget will not be gainfully employed. She has to be supervised 1-to-1, is go to all the different program fairs. Go online. There's a great place called Planning for Change or Planning for the Future or something. They do virtual information sessions. Doesn't matter where you live. And it's all about what kind of programs are out there. I found this last week, I went to one at the school and they have a master list of day programs for adults in Toronto. So they recommended, and I have started. My daughter's 18. She will be at school till 21. I have started to call around to see, is there a wait list? Can I come and tour? Can I put her on the wait list? Is there not a wait list? How much does it cost? Those kind of things, so that I'm prepared in 3 years that she has to have somewhere to go all day. She has to go somewhere all day. She'll be bored and we will lose our minds. So, but again, the costs are so expensive. So, the other thing I learned last week is before your child ages out of school, to let, in our case, it's the DSO or ODSP, let them know 6 months before that she is leaving high school. Don't wait until they've left, because they need that 6 months to transition her and hopefully get you some more funding to help you with these day programs. So always being one step ahead is the best way to go. I don't mean to be Debbie Downer or anything, but nobody is there to help you. So you have to do it. I'm a perfect example of being like, oh, I'll get to it later. Nobody's going to help you. So you have to do it now, as difficult as it is. But I will say just one thing, Liz, is I wish, though, because I don't want to be so negative, I wish I had enjoyed the earlier years more. So to all those families out there that are just at the beginning, and I stayed awake at night 2, 3, 4, all through her childhood, worrying about the future. It's a valid worry, don't get me wrong, but I wish I had enjoyed her more. I was too stressed.
I think that's such a good piece of advice. We're always thinking about the future. We think about how they're going to manage in school, how they're going to manage at their first camp.
Yeah.
Without realizing, enjoy the day to day.
Enjoy the day to day, and they are actually more resilient than we think.
They are far more resilient.
I always stress about something, and then she just goes in like she owns the place, like she rocks it. So, I wish I was less stressed about that and enjoyed her more, because, man, they are special human beings.
I completely agree. Jeanny, we like to end our show talking about what makes us happy, or what makes us hopeful, happy for the future. And Jeanny, what are you sort of seeing in the system or in your work? What gives you hope for this sector and for adults? And what can we share with families listening that can maybe bring a bit of a smile to their face, or give them a little bit of hope as their child is transitioning into adulthood?
I think there's a lot of hope in this time. There seems to be a lot of recognition and desire from other ministries to work with our ministry to support our individuals. So if you look at Ministry of Health, their current work plan of commitment to attach all unattached Ontarians to our primary care, they also have identified our population as a special subset of the group they will work to attach. And we have regions who have been successful in their application to open community clinics that supports our population. And these are coming with the wraparound service of allied health and other supports. So that's super exciting. Journey to Belonging is the adult ministry's vision for the adult services that is about individualized funding, being able to give the funds and the budgets into the hands of the clients and families to be able to purchase the services and supports that are meaningful to the individual and to the families. So that individualized funding paradigm is also rolling out in adult services. I believe we are year 5 or year 6 of 10-year plan of Journey to Belonging. I really like what kind of Wendy said about kind of like reflecting back and enjoying the kind of when they were younger, like being able to have these kind of conversations to help parents kind of find some peace or like in the moment, I think it's really
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah. That they're not alone.
Yeah.
They're not alone. There's others that feel the exact same way. Reach out to people and try to enjoy them because, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Exactly.
But man, when she comes in for a hug and a kiss, your heart just melts.
So Wendy, I think you're ending this with a really beautiful statement because it is challenging, but
If you get Bridget's love, you have it forever. And there is nothing like it.
I also would like to kind of say, like, please reach out and make connection with the Alice in Ontario, Developmental Services Ontario, and there can be supports like service coordination and case management. So the parents don't need to do the work on their own. Some of these services are a lot more responsive than other services.
thanks, Jeannie. As we wrap up today's conversation, a heartfelt thank you to our guests for sharing your insight, honesty, and lived experience. These conversations truly matter, and we hope today's discussion offered guidance, encouragement, and a reminder that no family walks this journey alone. Until next time, keep advocating, keep connecting, and keep believing in what's possible.
Thanks for listening to The Exceptional Caregiver's Life. I'm Wendy Robertson.
And I'm Liz Phipps. This podcast was made possible by Surrey Place and the Family Advisory Council. Special thanks to Caleb Buys for podcast support.
If you want to learn more about this topic or about Surrey Place and the FAC, please visit www.surreyplace.podcast.ca. Be sure to sign up for the Surrey Place newsletter by scrolling to the bottom of the page and subscribing.
Thanks to all of our listeners for being a part of Season 2 of The Exceptional Caregiver's Life. This was our final episode. Stay tuned for Season 3, hopefully coming soon.
Bye for now.